Started a blog to write about different marathons, mainly as a way to tell dad jokes, and ended up covering stats as well. Kind of became an accidental activist as well with a few of the controversies and ended up being a bit of a voice for the running community.
Yeah. When did you start doing the stats and what encouraged you to go that route?
I think I'm just quite a curious person, so I think I started I think it was probably just like normal ones, and then I started doing things like became quite popular with like the most running clubs, and then also success rate by running, because the numbers don't lie. Sometimes people will interpret the numbers or explain them differently, and have different theories as to why that occurs. But I mean, like I said, probably the one that I remember that at the time stood out for me was that whole one with how women run comrades much better.
Yeah.
And even if you go and factor in the qualification time, compared to men, and you use that to predict the finish rate, women are much far better. So KwaZulu-Natal the most expensive.
Okay.
Gauteng second.
Oh.
So second most expensive. So KZN 922, Gauteng 848, and then Limpopo third. So Eastern Cape dominates point to point. Western Cape also got quite a few point-to-points. Gauteng absolutely dominates double lappers, and you also got them in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly Durban.
Welcome to this episode of the Runners Podcast with myself, Rotoholo. Today we are talking to Stuart Mann. This is the man behind some of the statistics that we enjoy on the socials. So stay tuned for the episode as we unpack some of the interesting stats that he has managed to pull together. How are you, Stuart?
Yeah, good, Roto. Yeah, excellent. Yourself?
And thanks for the hospitality.
Cool.
And thanks for the cup of rooibos, my favorite.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Just quickly introduce yourself and tell us who is Stuart and what is Stuart doing?
Sure, yeah. So, heading towards 300 marathons. I think I'm on 294 end of the year. I think I ran my first one about 2002. Just got into running as a way to lose weight. I was on cortisone for a while and ended up for about a year, ended up looking like the Michelin Man, not the running man. So I needed to lose a few kilos. Running seemed like the way to do it. My father ran for many years down in Cape Town, so it was just seemed like the natural thing to do. And then eventually started a blog to write about different marathons, mainly as a way to tell dad jokes. Sort of from at that stage it was more the middle of the field, not towards the back where I'm more these days. And that sort of just evolved, took on a life of its own, ended up covering stats as well, particularly comrade stats and marathon running in South Africa, and then kind of became an accidental activist as well with a few of the controversies and ended up being a bit of a voice for the running community, and taking on things where runners were being condescended, abused, ignored, whatever. So taken on a few of those over the years as well. Yeah.
So running 2002, blogging?
I think I started 2017. So my wife was actually writing a blog at the time, and then so I said to her for Christmas, for my birthday, I said, don't buy me a present. She always struggles. I never got any good ideas for presents. I said, don't buy me a present, set me up with a blog.
Okay.
And then she did. My birthday is in May, and I think only in September I've published the first article.
Oh, okay.
So it took a while till I published the first one, but since then, every time I've done a marathon, the first time, so I won't do repeat articles of the same marathon, but every time I've run a marathon, I've written an article about it. So there's hundreds of articles on there now.
So from 2017, you've been writing articles based on the race that you do.
Yes, yeah.
So is there an instance whereby you wrote a blog on maybe you did the marathon thrice, and you wrote different things?
The only one I've actually done two articles on is Cape Town Marathon, which was actually the first local race. I did the Reykjavik Marathon in Finland was the first marathon report I did, but the first local race was Cape Town. And then I did a few years later, I ran one of my most memorable running experiences with a guy who was doing like a moving forest. So urban, a guy called Sia, he does like almost urban gardens and urban farming and stuff.
Okay.
So everyone, you've got a group of people to run with a tree on your back, actually in a rucksack. It sounds hard, it was very easy. It hardly weighs anything.
Oh, wow.
So a whole group of us ran as a moving forest. So I've written 2 about Cape Town, but I think that's only one. But I will, like, for example, we're just talking beforehand about Mealy Marathon. I'd run Mealy Marathon before the blog. When I did my second Mealy Marathon, I wrote about it. So I'll do it the first time I've run Neisner as well. I ran Neisner 2 years ago now. I was at the beginning of the year. And I'd done 10 already, but I hadn't run it since the blog. So when I did my 11th, then I wrote, an article. So the first time I've done it since the blog. Yeah.
And then the stats. When did you start doing the stats, and what encouraged you to go that route?
I think I'm just quite a curious person. So I think I started 2019, around then, 2019 comrades. And everyone's got opinions, and people will, and obviously on social media, people are quite loud about voicing their opinions and saying this or this. And I'm one of those people who says, well, anyone can have an opinion, but what do the facts actually say? And I managed to get the finishers data, and then I just started working through it and doing some stats. And then it's just one of those things, the more you start doing it, the more ideas you think, oh, I wonder about this and I wonder about that. And then people also will ask comments and things like that, which will inspire ideas. So and it just kind of also just took a life of it on its own. And now I've sort of done it most years. Kind of covered the stats, particularly on comrades. And then a few years ago, I started doing it as well on the marathons itself. At the end of the year, so just thought, well, I'm already keeping my spreadsheet of all the races in South Africa, and then started saying, well, hang on, I wonder how many are point to point versus double lappers versus this per province, and what's the average cost of a marathon? Is it getting much more expensive, which are the most expensive races, and all of that sort of stuff. So also just takes a life of its own on.
The running calendar in South Africa is drawn much towards comrades. So I guess you were inspired by comrades, and then it started to filter back to the marathons. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so it was, so with the stats, definitely. So the stats was first started with comrades, and then I thought, I can actually do some stats about the marathon running in general. I mean, the hard part is normally to get the data, but I really kind of collected and collated it. It was time consuming at the time. I remember doing finisher numbers, so that takes quite a lot for every single race. So I've manually got to go in and check how many people finish each marathon and on the results. So I kind of do that periodically, so that you've got the data and entry fees and things like that. And then I was also doing the monthly marathon articles where I try and get all the information that's pertinent. People want to know what's the elevation, what's the route profile, what's the cost, how to get there. I do how to get there from Joburg, because but half of the running in Gauteng, so people got an idea. And part of it as well was just to try to encourage people to travel. I mean, that's actually what I started. Part of the reason for the blog and doing the different marathons was I found I was traveling overseas for work quite a lot. And then I'd go out of my way to find a marathon to run. I mean, I would drive through countries, literally, to go and run a marathon and go and be creative about flight routings. But then every year, you do the same old races. And I thought, well, I'm making all this effort overseas. Why not make the same effort in South Africa to try and run different races? So part of it's just to encourage people to go and do a couple of different races every year and explore.
And explore the country, their countries.
Yeah.
Can you recall what made you start to look at those stats in 2019 comrades? What specifically stood out for you to go to start fishing for information?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I think I was just thought I was just curious about stuff and thought, this would be quite interesting to go and do some deeper dive statistics. So I don't remember there being a specific catalyst or anything like that.
And I guess it data collection became easy with these new timing companies or these new timing methods?
Yeah, so it's much.
I would assume.
It is. I mean, obviously I mean, there are ways to scrape the data, which is what I've done and what other people have done in the past. But obviously, it's much nicer if you can get the data from Comrades or Two Oceans or wherever. So, and then I did get from Comrades, because then you get the exact split data and some other information which is not on the on the public results site. And then you can just do more with it. But so it definitely makes it easier having it publicly, the publicly available information. But obviously, if you really want to go into depth, then you need you need to actually get the official one. So, and I did get from Comrades until their cut-off drama, and then they decided that year they didn't want to give me the numbers anymore. Anyway, so I'm glad that we've things have turned around at Comrades, and they happily give me the stats these days.
Can you recall some of the first stats that you worked on?
I think it was pretty just normal ones, and then I started doing things like became quite popular were like the most running clubs, and then also success rate by running clubs. I mean, I just know like the last couple of years, 4Ways have been I run for, they've been right up there in terms of success, so that's quite nice. I think a lot of it's more luck than by design. With some of those kind of stats. And then those are quite nice ones. They're always popular, with a bit of banter between running clubs and things like that. Also like doing things like the most popular qualifiers and things like that, which is quite interesting. So, people will say this is a popular qualifier, but is it? And you go and actually look,
exactly.
And then you get deeper into it and saying, well, okay, it's popular, but what's the success rate like on it? So do people who run this race, are there trends and correlations? I know that it took a couple of years until I did the stat, but I remember when I did it and being amazed by the results, so much so that I actually checked with a couple of proper data scientists to check that my math was correct. And that was the one where you split the male and the female into two, and you compare like men and women from the same batch at the average pace at each split. And basically and it was the conjecture was that women paced much better at Comrades. And then
in terms of consistency,
in terms of in terms of the second half, so they don't go out too fast, and the stats proved that 100%. So literally,
so they start slow, but they do negative splits.
They do much higher chance of negative splits, but they get faster. They will relatively run faster than the men of the same seeding batch in the second half. It's like across the board, every single split, women from the same batch will run faster than men from that batch. And obviously that batch is good because it's a proxy for ability.
Yes.
So if you're in C batch, whether you're male or female, you've done the same qualification marathon time, and you can actually see. So men start out, they win all the early batches, and then just before Drummond, you start seeing it starts to change. After halfway, it is 100% women every single batch.
I guess testosterone.
It is testosterone, ego, a handicap when it comes to marathon running. So that was just quite incredible to see that. I think I wouldn't even have thought of that, but again, I wouldn't have thought of that. But again, it would be an argument whereby people will say, no, men run better than women, and no one would actually win it without facts. No, that's it. So it just shows absolutely conclusively that. The other fun ones is like which is the best age to run Comrades, so which has got the fastest time and the best predictor, and it's quite young. It's like 26 to 30, that cohort. So bad news for us. It's already too late, but but
I grew up at an age whereby they said the best age to run Comrades is around 40. Because you are more matured and so forth. Is it like with the numbers? Is it factually true?
No, so that's traditionally what they've said. I also was told that. But best chance both in terms of your in terms of finish time and in terms of success rate of actually earning a medal is 26 to 30. So
And what are some of have you maybe I don't know, how do you get inspiration? Where do you draw your inspiration in terms of what to look at in terms of the numbers? For example, I remember there was that issue of cutoffs. Both Comrades and Two Oceans, I think they had the same issue of cutoffs. Where do you get such things? Do you go on the media to look at what people are crying off for you to start punching the numbers?
So the Comrades one, I remember explicitly what happened. I remember that, I mean, obviously, I think it was 2022. Now the year's kind of merging. But, I mean, obviously watching, I didn't run, but I was watching on TV and being bewildered like everyone else with the no one coming through in the last minute.
I was watching as well.
I remember that evening, like scrolling on my phone, sort of, instead of reading my book, but I was scrolling, through Facebook and just seeing people complaining and talking about the cutoffs. And the next morning I woke up and then I basically ran the numbers.
Okay.
And I mean, I felt for the runners. I mean, that's actually what I say the inspiration comes from, because feeling empathy for them. Like, I mean, I know what it's like. It's so hard to train for Comrades, and if you've had your medal taken away, it's it's hard work. If you got to 70 or 80 k's, depending on which cutoff they got pulled off at, Pinetown or
it was a down run.
Sherwood, it was
I think it was Sherwood was
Sherwood,
the last
and then Pinetown before it was also a bad
was
cutoff.
there?
So you had two of them which were far too strict. Anyway, and then I looked at the stats. I was like, I mean, I actually thought that what had happened, because remember it was the shortest down run, I think, in history that year. And I thought that someone had just made a mistake where they should have, because cutoffs are kind of counterintuitive and a lot of people get mixed up with them. And I thought that they should have added on 10 minutes, but they'd taken 10 minutes away from the previous down run. And I thought that was, anyway, so I remember I sent Rowan James a set of questions after I'd looked at the stats, and I showed him the stats. And then up until that point, I got on well with, Rowan, no problem with him. Had a couple of beers together sometimes, often chatted. And I mean, and then he sent me a reply. It was absolutely bewildering. I just remember he started off saying bollocks, Stuart, and I was like, jeepers. I mean, it's the kind of thing where I just shook my head, but as a writer I was like, well, this is great, it's going to make a great article. I actually sent back, I said, are you sure you want to stick with your answers, because I don't think he's going to fly very well in the running community, where he just basically blamed the runners, called them joggers. Actually, I remember he used that slur. And anyway, I mean, the numbers don't lie. I mean, it was clearly, unfortunately, the cutoffs cost, I worked out, probably about 700 runners a medal. And that's an actual medal, not just, it would have impacted probably more in terms of potentially a medal. And then obviously Two Oceans unfortunately followed suit. The impact wasn't as big at Two Oceans. I think it was probably about roughly 100, maybe slightly more. But once again, they just got their cutoffs wrong. Apparently, I mean, in retrospect, what apparently happened was someone just put the wrong time into the cutoff. But no one there wanted to own up to it afterwards. They tried to lie their way out of it, and they used their digimag, which they updated after the event, and blamed the runners again. So I mean, it's just I mean, I just that's the thing that triggers me, is kind of that bullying and arrogance from race organisers,
and not taking accountability there.
Accountability, not treating their runners as customers.
And it's very interesting, because I think without such numbers we wouldn't have arrived at a point whereby someone would take accountability to say, I'm wrong, I was the one, I was on the wrong. Maybe, I mean, I saw even on Comrades there were some who were compensated to say, we will charge you half of the entry fee or something.
Eventually I mean, I know a few people at the time. I mean, it was one of those, it was actually quite stressful to go through, because what happens is that it got a lot of attention, and when anything gets attention, then people go to the other side. So it wasn't a huge amount of people, but there was quite a few vocal people, and I got quite a, attack my own character and things like that, and accused of all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I stuck to my guns, and I remember a few people asked me, well, what's your end game here? I said, well, you need an apology to the runners. Not we acknowledge that there's been complaints, an actual apology, we did wrong, and ideally some form of restitution for them. So eventually it came 7 weeks later where there was a formal apology that came out admitting of wrongdoing and liability, and then I would have given them free entry, but if it was up to me, but it wasn't up to me, but at least they got half price entry the following year, which at least was something, which
Is it this way? How many oceans did you run, and how many Comrades? Because I'm drinking from this Two Oceans blue number cup.
So Two Oceans was my 20th last year.
Wow.
So I love Two Oceans. I grew up in Cape Town, so it was like I grew up supporting the race, supporting my father. I went to Rondebosch Boys High.
Oh,
in
wow.
Cape Town.
And that's
then
where it's a
around
home
there.
turf. Yeah.
And then Chet Sainsbury, obviously he was from Two Oceans. His sons were at Rondebosch. So then he asked if the school could help. We used to actually hold up the kilometer boards in the first 15 Ks. So that was kind of his attention to detail. He said, well, it's dark and there's so many runners, so you need to, like, it was almost like it was on a big pole. You had to hold it up and shout out like every 15 seconds the kilometer mark so that the runners could hear. So anyway, I did that for 5 years.
Rudimentary, eh?
And then it was also used to help out there at a support table. And you used to be the last support table, so you used to kind of help out there. The fact that it was partnered with Rustenburg Girls had also kind of helped incentivize, I think, people to help out. 20, and I'm hoping to carry on, do a few more comrades. Two Oceans. Comrades, I've done 10, to my 10th in 2019, and then everyone says you got to run one in your green number. My answer to that is that's only for fools and locals, and I'm not a local, so it remains to be seen whether I'm a fool. But I have to admit I have entered for this year. So what happened was that my wife has done one comrade. She's done a down run, and then she wasn't able to run for many years because she had a chronic illness which has gone into remission. So she's been running. She's got her first marathon in well over a decade coming up in a few weeks. And anyway, I was going out kind of mid-morning and on Comrades Entry Day, and I was surprised when my wife, her office is by the garage, she popped out and said, I've just entered Comrades. And anyway, so then I went off to the office myself, and I figured that it's easier to run Comrades than to support Comrades. So then I entered as well. So
wow. Before we scroll through the numbers, a friend of yours, Mr. Karp, with his doing his 1000th marathon at Soweto Marathon, you ran with him and you were 1001. What can you say about Julian and his achievement?
It's just fantastic. I mean, I'm so pleased he got there. So, if it wasn't for COVID, he would have got there a long time ago. But he has been, struggling with injuries the last sort of year and a bit, and he's got a lot slower. I know he got to 999 in May, and then he wanted to pick something memorable, so he picked Soweto, because it's obviously a memorable race for him. I think he ran the first one in 1993. So 1,000 marathons is just absolutely incredible. And he only counts official marathons, so like only officially, he doesn't count any trail ones he's done. Even
doesn't count Kaikons, which he did.
It doesn't count that. Which is 100 Ks. So and I mean it's just years and years of dedication. I'm more of I like to run Saturday and then I can drink beer for the rest of the weekend. But Julian, he doesn't drink. That's one of the dangers when you don't drink. So he runs Saturday and Sunday, and if there's a public holiday on the Monday, he'll run Monday as well if he can. So no, I mean it's just doing back-to-back marathons.
And in the midst of that, he did that 3 Amigos. Remember, he would run Saturday morning, Saturday evening, and Sunday morning.
He's done that many times as well. Doing three marathons in just over 24 hours. So
and you are happy with your 1 marathon per weekend.
That's enough for me.
And what number are you chasing? Because you're on the verge of 300. After 300, are you still going on?
So 295. Hopefully next weekend at Mealy Marathon. But I'm not too fussed about the numbers. I just keep a record of them, so it's not like I'm chasing. I mean, my main goal is to try and run every marathon in the country and just to do as many different marathons. I'm not. In my head, it'd be quite nice to do 365 because you can say you've done a year of running marathons.
You see, at least that's the target.
But
I was gonna go I was on the verge of getting a heart attack when maybe you're gonna say, no, I'm also chasing 1,000. I was like,
No, I won't get to 1,000. It's I mean, you've got to do that like 2 marathons a weekend and that kind of thing, and it's and that's also. Obviously not being injured. I mean, Julian's incredible up to recently with not being injured. As well. So definitely won't be going for the 1,000 mark.
And in your situation, how many marathons are you doing in a year?
So I think last year I did about 17, but I had a very bad start to the year. I got injured right at the end of December, and I didn't do any running at all for the whole of January or February. So ideally, I'd say like around about 30, something like that, all things being equal.
Which is half of the year.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a long introduction about yourself and what you do. Let's now go into the numbers. And let me look here. I've tried to jot some notes down. I don't know, before we, just when we start with the numbers, do you have any stats that stand out for you personally?
Not really, I would say, stand out. I mean, they're all just interesting because the numbers don't lie. Sometimes people will interpret the numbers or explain them differently, and have different theories as to why that occurs. But I mean, like I said, probably the one that I remember that at the time stood out for me was that whole one with how women run comrades much better.
Yeah.
And even if you go and factor in their qualification time, compared to men, and you use that to predict the finish rate, women are much far better. So they do. I mean, it's unequivocal. Women run comrades better than men. Other than that, it's just more looking at it and being interested in the numbers. Whatever it is, if it's like average cost per marathon per province, or the total number. Sometimes also people say, marathon's growing, it's shrinking. I mean, if you look at the total number of finishes, it has generally grown. This year was lower than last year, but that was mainly, but only slightly, and that was, I think, largely due to Cape Town Marathon cancellation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and but we still, even with Cape Town had taken place, we would still have less finishes than pre-COVID 2019. So 2019, there's still more. I think we were still about 16,000 down. So, and obviously, although you would expect roughly that amount to finish Cape Town based on 2024. You've obviously had a lot of people who would then did a marathon instead of Cape Town, like Jacaranda, which suddenly was like 17th largest marathon in 2024, third largest in the entire country. So only Comrades and Two Oceans had more finishes than Jacaranda Marathon, which is quite incredible. So a lot of people picked that, and they did wonderfully well to capitalize on Cape Town's cancellation and benefit from it.
Let's look at the numbers. Let's start with how many marathons do we have in South Africa?
So
total, all the provinces.
Okay, so last year was 138, which is actually, that is the most that I've got on record since starting in 2019 with the stats. So it's 138 across the entire country, and with, I think, Gauteng having the most. So it's just quite nice. So there's I think there'll be a lot of new marathons which have cropped up, particularly Limpopo. Like lots and lots of new marathons have come through there.
Yeah, I come from Limpopo, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they're popping up all over the show. So I thought I'd done all the Limpopo marathons, but then it's like they keep on.
We keep on throwing.
But they're always good fun. I enjoy them, particularly like there's some nice village marathons and things like that. You just nice and relaxed. You see a few different things.
Out of 138, let's look at the numbers. Ne? So how many marathons when we say Gauteng, we mean Vaal, Central Gauteng and Gauteng North. In terms of, we're just talking about the province. We're not going to talk about other provinces. So
let me just double check. I know Gauteng was the most.
Okay.
So we're looking at Gauteng was, I think, about 27.
I think if you don't mind, you can just maybe take the laptop and put it on your lap if you don't mind, because it might make your life easier. Like that.
Okay, so Gauteng we had 27. So that was the most for a province.
27 marathons.
27 marathons. Yeah.
Wow, I thought it's more than that.
Yeah, I mean, remember as well that you got lots of periods where there's no marathons occurring. So as I said, from May to pretty
August
much
somewhere.
Even I think September. I think Grand Block runs and they've got that Zone 3 marathon, which is the first one in Gauteng after Comrades, which is that's in September. I know that last year was a very
I think there's not many marathons after Comrades.
Then you got there's a few here and there, but there's not as many. Obviously in the build up, but there've been quite a few new ones which have come up. Particularly Vaal Triangle have added quite a few.
I saw
there. Yeah, and then Limpopo in second position,
Wow.
23. So
Yeah, that's quite an impressive number.
Sorry, I went wrong. Limpopo on third. Sorry,
Okay.
it's
It's
KZN.
KZN. I know KZN is good.
KZN 23,
Okay.
and then it's Limpopo. Limpopo in third. They joined third with Eastern Cape.
How many marathons in
17.
Oh, 17. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the provinces, which are the worst for, or the hardest pressed for marathon runners.
Let me just guess. Northern Cape. That's my guess.
So they're actually second last this year.
Oh, wow.
6. Northwest with 5. Northwest only got 5.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought it's maybe I take Omdidam and I just paint the whole Northwest as so it had 5. Only 5.
5, and they've actually grown. So, I mean, so you got before you only had Omdidam and you had Klerksdorp. So if you think quite recently,
now there's N12.
There's N12 Ultra. There's Ottersdal. Ottersdal has been there a while, but that didn't take place for a couple of years. And then there's there must be another one. There's Potch.
N12 and Potch is not far off.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, the Potch. Quite a nice marathon as well. I've done that I think 3 times actually now.
Oh wow!
3 out of 4 editions that they've had. Yeah.
So at the bottom we've got Northwest followed by Northern Cape.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And then maybe before we scroll, you go out. Do you have the number of finishers per province close by, or is it something that you have to scroll a bit?
I definitely did that stat, and what you see there is fairly similar, although in terms of Gauteng, it drops. So in terms of the finishers, particularly for people, I think a lot of people travel from Gauteng and travel around. People in Joburg and Pretoria and so on tend to travel. So you kind of see. We'll have to look exactly where I put that. But yeah, it's fairly. I think Western Cape benefits quite a lot from tourism, from running tourism. A lot of people travel to the Cape.
Yeah, I mean, if you have about 12,000 or 15,000 finishers on at Two Oceans, that just blows the numbers up. And then Cape Town Marathon, I think those 2 would just blow the numbers up.
Yeah.
Only those 2.
Yeah, and obviously with Cape Town not occurring, it did impact the numbers a little bit. But and obviously the same thing happens for KZN with Comrades.
Yeah, with Comrades.
That just blows their numbers. In terms of the disproportionately. Yeah.
But then another one will be there's this claim that there's more runners in Gauteng than any the numbers in Gauteng. They far outnumber, even double maybe KZN and so forth. Have you checked those type of
you definitely
in terms of maybe the licenses holders? I don't know how you're gonna get that stat.
So the one where you see it is things like is licensed runners at Comrades and at Two Oceans. So you definitely see that. So if you're just looking at the South African part of the entry at Comrades, about 45% comes from or Gauteng license.
Wow.
And it's roughly the same at Two Oceans as well. So you are seeing that almost half of the South African part of the field is licensed. Now obviously some people might originally come from, like there's yourself from Limpopo or even Cape Town.
But the license holder.
So their residence is in the Gauteng area. One of the things which I'd love to get actually is the number of licensed runners per province, because then you can check. But to get anything out of ASA is just absolute nightmare. So that's just getting a response. So anyway, if anyone's watching this and has got the data,
I mean, it will be good to have such stats. It's not a bad thing.
That's also you can tell really if the sport's growing, because I just look at marathons and ultras, and you can see it generally is growing since COVID, but it's still smaller than it was pre-COVID. But in terms of the license numbers, where are they? Because you want to track that. That is actually what ASA and our regional athletics provinces should be doing, is to saying, well, are we increasing the number of licensed athletes or are they decreasing? Because that's showing whether you've got more or fewer customers. And
I would assume, even with are you able to get the number of running clubs in in Gauteng versus the other provinces, or is that again where the limitations due to ASA?
You can kind of get it from the entry sites because obviously they've got all the clubs, but obviously that not that representative because
it's not,
because you find, I mean, if you look at like Team Vitality Central Gauteng, they've probably got as many runners, licensed runners, as like maybe I would hazard a guess at least 50%. If you added up 50% of the clubs, just they would have more than that. So you've got a few run zones, another one, massive club.
It's got a massive.
So it's not a great barometer. I'd rather get the overall license.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the licensed runners would actually give you a better picture than just looking at the number of clubs there.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then we go to another one. Let's just look at the biggest and smallest fields at the marathons, which I know you spoke about. Comrades and Two Oceans will obviously stand out, maybe with the Cape Town Marathon, not looking at 2025 and what transpired. And I think going forward with them becoming a world major, I think it's a different, it will be a different ball game there. But let's just look at the numbers there.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the largest, once again, Comrades, they've dominated, I think, probably every year they've been the largest. Cape Town in 2024 weren't that far behind. So I think that there is a chance of Cape Town overall entries that they will eventually become the most popular run. They'd also have to get the City of Cape Town to agree to permits, allowing them that number. Cape Town very, very strict on their permit numbers. And then you got, so that's just over 18,000 finishers. And then you've got Two Oceans, just over 10,000 finishers, 10,700.
Okay.
So those are the two. Then they absolutely dwarf anyone else. In third place, you've got Jacaranda with 3,443.
So this is 2025.
This is 2025. Yeah, 2025.
I'm interested to check what Johnson Crane is, because it's one of the popular races in central or in Gauteng, whereby I think people from different provinces come here.
Yeah, so they were fourth. 3,432. So not far behind Jacaranda. So
it's actually not easy to attract 3,000 marathon runners at one go, eh?
It's difficult. I mean, I think also you've got to consider that for those events, they're also doing half marathons and stuff as well, which I don't count.
You don't count that.
Just looking here, you've got a total of 7 events in the whole country who had 3,000 finishes or more. That's marathon. So you've got, in addition to the 4 we mentioned, you've got Elands, which has grown very, very nicely. They've grown by about 1,000 a year. They're 3,279. And then you've got Kopsehoop, and then Peninsula. So those are your 7 that are above 3,000 finishes.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Then let's just go to Elands a little bit. When was the inaugural Elands Marathon? Was it 2022 or
2022? So obviously they kind of rebooted it. So there was Elands around, but they're not. Yeah. So 2022 they had 972.
They just had under 1,000.
Under 1,000. And they kept this about they were just over 1,000. 2023 1,094. Then they grew by more than 1,000 in 2024. They were 2,150. And then they've grown by more than 1,000 again, 2025, 3,279. And I must say, I ran Elan, so it was the first marathon I did last year.
Okay.
And very, very well organized. So, I mean, which is quite impressive that they've been able to scale and increase, but it hasn't detracted from the organization of the event. Still, great water tables, plenty of water, cold water. Second half of the race, I think it's every 2 kilometers as well, because it does get quite hot there. Really, really hats off to them.
I think I'm planning to do my first Elands this year, because I haven't done Elands in my life. And I was just wondering, because people talk about the easy route. Is it easy down or is it undulating?
People tell you it's easy, and then at the finish they say, it's full of hills, it wasn't that easy. So no, it is easy. It's definitely an easy route. But the trick is that the first half, that's where most of your dropping comes. So there are a couple of very small rises. I wouldn't even call them hills.
Just a rise.
But if you've gone out too hard and you've whacked your quad, so there's some, in the first half, you're going to suffer on the second half. And then also the first half is much more scenic. I mean, it's quite a scenic route. Second half is it's not bad, but it's just not as scenic.
Have you compared elevation?
So I do. Elevation is one of the things I track. I don't have it for every marathon, so which is why I actually want to write an article about the toughest and easiest marathons and so on, based purely on the elevation stats. But generally speaking, you do find that quite a few people use the easier marathons as qualifiers, so they are quite popular. So Eland's being one of them. Kaapse Hoop, obviously another one. You've got Kango in the Cape. You've got Buffs and Border Masters in the Eastern Cape. There are some downhill marathons which are really tough as well, which is you finish a lot lower than when you start, but there's a lot of uphill, so there's a few of those around as well. But you do find that they tend to be quite popular for the car. I mean, in particular, I think Eland's and Kaapse Hoop, those tend to be ones a lot of people go and they target as their qualifier to go and do.
Other people will use this kind of information to say, hey, I'm going to target this marathon. I had the elevation, I had it's easier. And just to sidetrack a little bit, what is the toughest and the easiest marathon you've done in your life in South Africa?
So I'd say the easiest marathon in the country, that I've got a definitive answer, and that is the Tony Viljoen Border Masters Marathon in East London, Buffalo City. Okay. So the way that they design routes in the Eastern Cape, or particularly East London, they pick a finish line, they get in a car and they drive 42.2 k's up the road, and they draw a line on the road, and that's where you start from. So there's a few that are like that. They also do point to point in East London.
Oh, they like point to point.
They like point to point there. So this one you run, I think it's the N6, but literally you run downhill, and it's gentle downhill the whole way until you hit sea level. It's actually the same route as Buffs, or a large portion, but Buffs at the end you've got a bit of an uphill climb to the Buffalo Runners Club. So for me, and also it's like September time, so it's very cool. Sea level, that makes it for me the easiest marathon in the country. Obviously you still got Eland's is pretty easy, but you got the heat of Eland's, so you got altitude, so that's why.
I'm just gonna say it's altitude versus
when it comes to the toughest one, it's a bit more tricky.
Or you can just name a few of the toughest.
I mean, there's Zanin Tuffy. There's plenty of climbing there. It's about
I haven't done. I'm scared to do that.
You've got to do. You Limpopo local. You've got to go and do.
Yeah, I know about the race. Yeah, but I haven't. Yeah.
Last year I did the Barberton Makundra Mountain Marathon. Yeah. That's a lot of climbing there, but beautiful. Really, really, really
scenic.
Nice. Very, very scenic, but lots of climbing.
I did it a year before you.
Yeah, I think Sani Stager. That's another one. It's going up and down.
Did you do Sani Stager?
Yes, yeah, I've done that.
It's very tough, man. That one is tough.
I think that's probably the most elevation of a marathon in South Africa. I mean, also you got other challenges like going to run in Messina. You got the heat to contend with, so that tends to make it a little bit more difficult as well. If you get a very, very hot day, pushing close to 40 degrees.
Yeah, I remember. I think you went with Julian to do some Messina marathon. Did you go with him?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I was like, and we've done 2 countries before where you start 10 k's over the Zim border and you run back across Bait Bridge, and you only start there that one at about 8:30 in the morning because we've got to do the border crossing and stuff. And it's like already well over 30 degrees when you start, and that was quite tough.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a variety of experience in these things because it gives you a different perspective altogether. And then let's go to. I think this one will be. It might be a controversial one or a sensitive one to others. Entry fees per kilometer, the most expensive, the most cheapest, and on average in South Africa, what was the average entry fee?
Yeah, so we're looking now at I think it was increased on average by about 5.4%, so not too bad, but you've got to remember that it has been above inflation for several years with entry fee increases. If you're looking at the most expensive, sad to say, Two Oceans was the most expensive. last year. The good news, however, there is that we're looking. Two Oceans have kept their entry fee the same for 2026,
Okay.
and for 2027 it'll also be will also be the same.
Oh, wow.
Comrades have also kept it the same. I actually think Comrades are in a position now, if you look at their finances, they're like Two Oceans, a non-profit, but Comrades in particular have got a very healthy financial position. They're probably in a position where they could look to decrease in future, so hopefully they'll do that.
So those ultras are the most expensive.
They're the most expensive.
Yeah. And
so
then,
average is seven rand 81 per kilometre. That's the
Okay.
countrywide average, with KwaZulu-Natal being the most expensive. You're paying 9 rand 22 per kilometre on average
Wow.
there. Yeah, and then I think Gauteng second, 848 per kilometre.
I think we can, on that one we can go through all. If it's the provinces, we can go through all the
Yeah.
provinces to check the price per province.
Then just looking at the other races, Cape Town were third. So obviously Cape Town didn't take place, but you did have the entry fee.
Yeah.
So they were third. Sorry, and Loskop was second. So Loskop was actually second, Comrades in fourth.
So Loskop is
in terms
more
of-
expensive. It was more expensive rand per kilometer as compared to Comrades.
14.79 for Loskop. So
Oh.
Two Oceans 15 rand, Loskop 14.79. Now I know Loskop have reduced their entry fee by I think it's about 200 rand for this year's race, but you no longer get a shirt. So I think that what they've done is they've taken out the shirt and made it optional.
Oh,
Which, you know, and I've got nothing. I mean, it's also it's important to point out that, you know, there's. I'm not necessarily saying that these are too expensive or that they, you know, over, you know, they're charging too much, because there's different, you know, costs, different sponsorship deals,
Yeah.
different races and different financial situations and so on. And you had Omnidam in fifth, so that's your most expensive per kilometres. I'm expecting that this year Cape Town is going to be the most expensive because they increased their entry fee. But whereas Two Oceans and Comrades have kept their static,
oh yeah.
Loskop was reduced, you were second. So I think Cape Town's going to be the most expensive rand per kilometre going forward.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the interesting things as well there is that both, as I said, Two Oceans and Comrades, they are you know, not-for-profit companies. They so if they make additional money, it's not a profit, it's a surplus, and the aim is to keep it going or to put back into the
Yeah.
community. Most of the other races are run, you know, by clubs, so they're used for, you know, the clubs do them and benefit from any surplus they make. But Cape Town actually is run as a for-profit company, so they are actively trying to make a profit at Cape Town.
Oh, I see.
So KwaZulu-Natal the most expensive.
Okay.
Gauteng second.
Oh,
So second most expensive. So KZN 922, Gauteng 848, and then Limpopo third, 841, which is quite interesting because I know, like for example, Gauteng and KZN, I think they are all paying for traffic police and things like that.
Yeah.
Limpopo, I'm not sure. I think some of the rural ones they don't need to pay for the traffic police. I'm not sure in Polokwane if they do or not. I know in, some of the small towns the traffic police donate their resources rather than charging for it. And then if you're looking at the cheapest, is the Northern Cape. So that is the place to go if you're running on a budget. They don't have many marathons to run, but you do have 6 rand and 8 cents.
Oh wow.
Is what it costs there.
Yeah. And then do you have the stats in terms of which marathons pay the best? Do you have those stats?
Yes, so prize money is something I started tracking the last few years. So let me just get there. Comrades is by far and away the best paying.
Yeah.
Which is the last year anyway was 874,000. I think that they've missed a trick by not going to 1 million. I think that maybe they want to do 1 million rand first prize for the 100th, but I think that they've missed a trick. They could have easily gone there. Then you've got only a couple of races who are paying 250,000 first prize. That's Soweto Marathon and Two Oceans.
Yeah, I know those two.
Cape Town being cancelled. Their first prize is $75,000 US. So obviously that is still that's still a decent a decent first prize. That's there.
And then we had, I think this year we had that Kimberley 200 paying 200k.
200k. So Kimberley 200k and City to City both had 200k.
Oh yeah, City to City. I almost forgot that one.
Yeah. So I must say, Kimberley ran that this year. Lovely race, very nicely organised. So hopefully that stays in the calendar. And it's by far the largest running event I've ever had in the Northern Cape. So I mean, just to put it in perspective, they had about, I think, 500 finishers, if I remember correctly. The previous highest was 188 in any race, but in the whole of the Northern Cape last year, they almost equaled that with one race. So
I guess they don't have as many races as well. So Oh, okay. And then the list paying.
So least paying, I didn't actually publish that, but there are quite a few marathons who don't pay prize. There are a few who don't pay prize money. So the most notable is Washi. So Washi does it, but obviously then they're doing more for the prestige of it. I mean, personally, I've got no problem with races not paying prize money. I think then, the athletes can choose by their feet. I mean, it's like, whether they pay or not. I think it's great that there are races who are paying for genuine elite performances. I mean, also if you look at some of the races, they've got tiny fields.
Washi's less than 100.
Less than 100, but also I think there's more like the prestige of the event, and they've kept it like that. I mean, you've got to remember as well, if you've got a small field and you're paying big prize money, that money's got to come from somewhere. And most races are struggling for sponsorship. So actually then the other runners have got to pay for the prize money in terms of increased entry fees. And if they increase the entry fees, then they get fewer runners. So it's a bit of a catch-22. I generally don't have a problem with races paying low or no prize money. I know that there's some people who might disagree with that, but I think then, as long as there are races that are paying higher money, and then the truly elite runners go there. If you are winning a race that's paying low prize money, great for you, you're running a fast time, but it's still going to be well off an elite time that's going to be there generally in those lower paying ones.
Wow, interesting. And then I don't know if there's, as we are building up towards Two Oceans and Comrades, if there's any interesting stats that you would want to just share for the information of runners, because at times there are certain nuggets of information that you do see, and as runners we just at times we just go and run, we even forget about certain things. I don't know if you've got anything to share.
So I think probably the one that people are most interested in is substitution stats. But I can't. I do have them, but not on the top of my head. So how many substitutions normally come up? It is quite a large number, because I'm obviously with both Two Oceans
and Comrades.
Comrades selling out so fast. Two Oceans on the ballot. A lot of people and having a record number of applicants. So I think substitutions are opening for both of those races quite soon. You can expect, if memory serves me correctly, a few thousand generally. Numbers will be substituted in that period, so look out for those. The other stat which is important to note for Comrades runners, the data is very, very clear. The earlier do your qualifier, the better your chances are of Comrade success. So don't leave it to the last minute. Generally you want to try and get it done January, February. That typically has the best success rate. So that's one that the Comrades runners will want to know. I'm expecting Elance will probably be the most popular Comrades qualified. It's been second last year, but with Cape Town being first.
Not being a qualifier any longer. Forward, so I think the spot is up for grabs.
So it looks like Elance are in pole position to grab it. So I would expect that. But there's so many marathons to choose from. So pick. And as I said earlier, try and travel around a bit. So try and pick one that's not the one you run every year. You maybe run that one still if you want to. If it's a good marathon, you know what you can expect. But maybe try a weekend or two away. If you've got a partner who runs, then great, you can both run. If you don't, then you just plan a family holiday around the marathon. So family gets a holiday, you get a marathon, everyone wins.
building up to Comrades again, when is the time of the year whereby most runners qualify?
That I will have to go and check.
Okay.
I'll be able to do that. So it is generally. I'm pretty sure it's going to be February, March, April. You're going to have most people who qualify then, and that's generally also when you've got the most marathons that are on the go as well. I'll tell you that now. It's coming up. Okay, March with 24% is the most popular by some way.
So March is you get the bulk of people qualifying.
Yeah. April 13%. Now previously you did have October in second actually with 16%, but that was largely because of Cape Town Marathon.
Yes.
So many people used that, and they also trained hard for it. So they would have run it hard and gone for a good time, and it might have been their best time, which they would have then used. So obviously some people run multiple marathons, but they'll use their fastest time.
Yeah.
As their qualifier. So I would expect that's going to change. I think
it's going to change drastically.
The anomaly is because of Cape Town was in October. That's going to change. You're going to start seeing, March will probably grow, and then February and April will benefit a bit as well. But you see most of the qualification happens February to April.
Or February to April.
Yeah.
And then by distance, it's like, do most runners qualify by marathon or by ultra?
So it's by marathon. I know at Two Oceans it's almost exclusively by marathon. I know I've started doing some Two Oceans stats. Mm-hmm. If you look at, let me just get to the right place here. So if you're looking at by distance, 81% use a marathon, a standard marathon to qualify. You've got 13% who use a short ultra, 46 to 50. You've got 5% who use between 52 and 56, most of those obviously being Two Oceans. Mm-hmm. You've got, I think there were about 24 people, so it works out to 0%, 0 point something percent, who used anything longer than 60 Ks or longer. And then you had 205 people who used an Ironman marathon. So you obviously warming up with a 3.8K swim and a 180K cycle, and then doing a marathon then. So 205 is actually quite a lot of people who've done.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I would have thought it would be slightly lower, but that works out to be about 1%.
True.
Comrades.
Yeah. You know what? I take my head off to runners because it has never crossed my mind that you would find someone who uses Ironman as a qualifier.
Yeah.
I mean, that one is mine. Like I haven't. It hasn't even crossed my mind. And then you spoke about the stat that I saw this morning about where you comparing point to point versus double lappers. So. I can't think of any point-to-point races here in Gauteng. I don't know, but I don't know. I can't think of anyone on top of my head where you get point-to-point.
City to city, I think.
Yeah, the city to city.
So that's a point-to-point, but generally Gauteng is the home of the double lapper.
Yes, it used to be. It used to have single lappers back in the day, but when I started to run, but most were converted to double lappers.
And you can understand it saves cost. So you got half the water tables, so you immediately, and then half the volunteers, which you needed for the water tables, and then also you got half the traffic police cost as well.
Yeah.
So that all makes a big difference. So you started to see most of the races ended up being. So you got a few. Soweto, obviously that's a circular route, single lap. You've got the Midwall marathon as well. That's a single lap where you kind of go out, almost out and back. You come back near the start, and then you go and do a loop, and on the other side of the of the area. So you've got a few, but most of them are double lappers.
So are we maybe largely influenced by the cost of?
Yeah, definitely, it's cost, and also so I think it's cost, convenience, and also space, because if you think about also Gauteng, the roads have got busier. There's very few places in Gauteng which have got very quiet roads. and then you've got less impact to the traffic if you're running the same route.
I think you see it with Soweto. It's a circular route, but it's just too long to run in the Joburg traffic.
Yeah.
Typically.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And then where do you get most of the point-to-points and some of the circular marathons?
So point to point. Just back there, lost the spot. So no, particularly in Eastern Cape, they tend to favour the point to point there. You've got a lot of point to point, particularly in East London. So almost all the races there are point to point. That have everything from Washi obviously is point to point, but then I mentioned Buffs, the Border Masters. You've got Great Kai there, which is a fairly new race. It's just point to point. You've got, I think, Buffalo City, point to point.
Oh, wow.
There's a new race happening in Graaf-Reinet this year, point to point. So, so you've got a lot of, so Eastern Cape dominates point to point. Western Cape also got quite a few point to points, 8 in the Western Cape as well. In Mpumalanga's got 7. So you think about also in Mpumalanga, you've got a lot of all your downhill marathons there, like
Makonjwa and and the likes.
Makuba's Kloof, Plunge, you've got all of those ones which are point to point. Gauteng absolutely dominates double lappers, and you also got them in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly Durban. So most of the Durban races are double laps as well.
Yeah, I just know of, is that there's a Dolphin Coast, which is a point to point.
Yeah, Dolphin Coast is point to point, but most of the other ones are, you got like the Ravens Best of the Best. I think there's the Hope Challenge, which has cropped up. So most of the other ones that you do there are, nearly all of them I think are double lappers. Hillcrest double lapper. The Durban City is double lapper, but Durban International is point to point.
Yeah, is it point to point or circular? I haven't.
Yeah, it's point to point. So
okay. Wow, interesting. I think we'll review some of the stats. As I alluded to, that most of the race road running races here in South Africa are drawn towards Two Oceans and Comrades Marathon. I think that inform if we can maybe just before Comrades review the stats and check some of the stats that we have come up with, the qualifiers and so forth. It will give us pretty much a picture of how we fared this year.
Yeah, sure. No, very happy to chat anytime.
Yeah, and then you backed a gig at Two Oceans. Two Oceans. I think after the criticism, I assume. How is it going on that side of things? And going very well, I must say. Unexpectedly, I got a call from Celtic Harrier saying, would you like to join the interim board? I basically agreed to, obviously to try and drive through the change, which we successfully did, to get rid of, obviously there was let's just say, from the top down, there were a lot of issues on the board, so managed to sort that out. We've appointed Stillwater as staging partners. I mean, long before I was asked to join the board, I said that's the only way the race can continue is by getting, professional company to run the race. I mean, that's the way it should be run as well, because you should have the board operating at a strategic level, and you've got the race office or the partners are now operating at the operational level. But you had boards over the years who wanted to be in the operational side for whatever reason, and that caused a lot of problems. So then with the AGM, I decided to stand there as an ordinary member and was elected on by the members. So now being on the board, nice to contribute. Very sort of comfortable. There's very strong leadership with Chris Goldschmidt as chair and Glenn Muller as vice chair. And they people have been around a long time. They've got also you've got now the majority of the board are
in it for the race, not for themselves. They've also got the aptitude to do things correctly. They're making runner-centric decisions. They're not operating above their skill set, which I think you had in the past, unfortunately. You had people who run a couple of half marathons. There's nothing to take away from people who run half marathons, but it's very different running an ultra marathon. I mean, that's why you saw you had no water table on Constantia Next. You had a 6K gap, and basically what it looks like there. It was difficult to get the water truck there, so they just said, oh well, runners, they can just survive without water. It's like,
and at those later stage of the race,
it's just, I know I suffered there. I was waiting. I run table to table, so I enjoy a walk and a chat at the tables. And I got about 5Ks and I was almost dying. Luckily Spectator gave me side of the road, had some water. I was really not feeling great. Stillwater really have hit the ground running, doing a great job in my opinion. I think we're going to see a very good, back to the way it should be, bringing back a lot of the traditions, back to basics, good organization, good solid organization. So I'm expecting a good race. Also, I can tell you that I was asked to do the chair of the disciplinary subcommittee. So we have banned 20 people for cheating at the 2025 event.
Wow.
So there will be a press release coming out in the next couple of weeks probably about that. For a long time people have just got away with murder, cheating. There was one guy, every year he was getting into his car, he would run like the first 15Ks, get into his car, and then he would reappear in the finish line. So he's been
caught.
And also it was reported by other runners from his running club, in fact, to Ocean's office, and they did nothing in the past. So that's one thing I can tell you is that there is a zero tolerance policy for cheating, and it's only a small number of people who do it. But that's where you can also use the stats to work out. There were a few statistically impossible splits that people claimed. They were given a chance to explain themselves and so on. So we followed a full transparent process.
And just before we close, any new stats to look out for in this year? Do you have any things that you're thinking of that we haven't heard of before?
I don't have anything off the top of my head, but sometimes things normally come up to me when I'm busy with things, or someone makes a comment, or someone asks a question, or something like that. So anyway, if anyone out there is thinking, hang on, I'd love to get this stat, I'd love to know this. One of the things which I'd love to do, and I just need a bit of time, is to get the full results history from comrades, to go and work out things like which running club has had the most comrades finishes over the history of comrades. Like, where are the running clubs in terms of, finishes, and, how do the clubs compare? I know someone asked me, because they ran their first silver with about 22 to 23rd comrades.
Okay.
Which was quite incredible. And they saw who's run the most to get a silver. But then I actually saw Keith Reynolds, who we both know, he's also done about the same. So, but I don't know definitively. So it would be quite nice to work out like some of those stats. I'd also like to work out who took the longest to get a green number at comrades. And by that I mean, in the first 10 runs, who had the maximum amount of total time on the road. So, there's someone out there
I see.
who's done like 11:50, 10 times in a row. That's so because obviously I like to play with words and stuff like that. So I thought that might be quite fun.
I think Shahida would take the cup and with the subtails. Okay. Interesting. But anyway, thank you for your time, Stuart, and continue doing what you're doing. I think you're doing a very good job that I don't think I would have time to I would have time for, but someone has to do it. If it gives you pleasure and satisfaction, why not? But thanks for your time, and thanks for your hospitality at your beautiful home, beautiful garden behind us here, and very quiet environment.
Great. No, thanks so much for asking me onto your podcast or videocast, Rota. It's always great to see you on the road and to chat, and thanks for everything that you do for the running community as well. It's great that some of those interviews you also like fascinating. I think particularly the one with Cheryl Wynn, the one that you did there. That obviously her untimely passing, which happened after you conducted that. But
Yeah.
it's lovely just to have that record of that, you know, because I don't think there's not another piece of footage out there like that. So I mean, that's now a little piece of history that you recorded.
But yeah, thanks for your kind words. And yeah, in closing, we love what we do what we love. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, sharp.